The federal government says it has no plans to reintroduce subsidy on petrol. According to a post made on X, formerly known as Twitter, Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Media and Publicity, Tokba Ajayi, stated, quote, "There is no plan to reintroduce any form of fuel subsidy. There is no condition to support any increase in prices at this time. President Tinubu is convinced, based on information before him, that we can maintain current pricing without reversing the current deregulation policy by swiftly cleaning up existing inefficiencies within the midstream and downstream petroleum sector." Oil and gas analyst Chuks Emeka joins us now to focus on this against the backdrop of the deregulation policy of the downstream sector. Good to have you on Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you so much.
So what's your take on the president's reassurance that there will be no fuel price increase when current market price dictates otherwise?
Okay, my take is this. Our leaders are actually morally sick. This is so disgusting and so disheartening to hear this kind of thing. The rot in the oil and gas industry, more especially at the upstream sector, is a disgrace. I don't know how a country like Nigeria that is producing oil, producing crude oil, cannot manage a functional refinery. We have 4 refineries in this country. We have 2 refineries in Port Harcourt, we have 1 in Warri, we have another 1 in Kaduna. Yet none of them is working. It's so disheartening. And the government is saying that they are not going to remove they are not going to remove the subsidy that they removed earlier. They are going to leave it that way. Now let me explain this. The landing price of fuel today, that's the premium motor spirit, is 651.7 naira. Now at the filling station we are buying at 560 plus. Now the question I want to ask is, who is paying for that differential? Who is paying for it? It's not mathematically correct. Because if I'm a private investor and I set up a business and let's say I am buying rice today for 30 naira and 30,000 and I'm going to sell it for 28,000 naira, it doesn't make sense. So there's something NNPC is not telling us. There is something they've not been able to explain to Nigerians yet. This is sick. It doesn't make sense anyway. We are not the only country in the world that is producing oil. We have other oil producing countries in Africa. We have in Angola. Why is ours different? Why is our own in a different form? It's very funny.
Well,
so the situation, this thing is I don't know how to explain this to people. This thing is so funny.
It's definitely frustrating, and we know that within Africa we have these sorts of issues, specifically in Kenya. We see that Kenya had a huge cost of living crisis once, as soon as William Ruto assumed office. They removed subsidies. They were having all sorts of protests. Now Kenya is reinstating those subsidies. And rumor has it that Nigeria may follow suit as well, gradually reinstating some of these subsidies in order to ease the tension of the cost of living crisis. But seeing that, I mean, you're not an economist, but you are an oil and gas expert. Do you foresee a situation where subsidies are gradually reduced and the price of commodities and goods come down, and we finally get this noose off of our necks, so to speak, a little bit? Do you see that in the next coming months?
Let me start by saying this. Subsidy is a globally accepted concept across the world. Everything, in every sector, people subsidize, government subsidize sectors, different sectors. Now, I would have advised the government. If I'm advised the government, I would tell them, first of all, why didn't you find out the problem, the fraud that was happening in the oil and gas sector before you remove subsidy? Subsidy is in every sector. It's in education, there's subsidy. In security, there's subsidy. There's subsidy practically everywhere. You won't say because the subsidy is not working here in Nigeria, now it becomes obsolete. That's not true. What happened in Kenya is because the people revolted. There was crisis. So they had to return back and return back subsidy in some certain sectors. Now the question I want to ask Nigeria is that the Nigerian government and even Nigeria, why is it that our refineries are not working? We're talking about subsidies because the refinery is not working. Why are refineries not working? What is wrong? What is wrong in having one functional refinery? In the past, the last time we built a refinery in this country was in 1989. Since 1989 to date, we have not built one, not even a modular refinery. So what is the problem? That means there is sabotage going on. There are people who deliberately want to make sure the oil and gas sector does not work well because they are benefiting from it. That's what I've understood in this whole game. They're benefiting from it. The reason why the government is having policy somersault and challenges is because there are loopholes, there are saboteurs inside the system that make sure that whatever the government is saying does not have leeway. There's no leeway. So that's the problem we're having here. Why are we not having our refiners working? That's the question I'm asking everyone. They are saying that they are relying on Dangote refinery to be able to bring sugar to Nigerians. That is rubbish. That is rubbish. Dangote refinery is a private-owned initiative. The man there is going to pay for that. He's going to pay for the loans he collected to build that refinery. Are you telling me that we cannot have a refinery like the one we have in Aramco in Saudi Arabia? Why are these countries, their refineries are working and we also go now? Nigerians, the NNPCL is going to bring in fuel from Kazakhstan and Rotterdam. That's where they're going to bring fuel. We take our crude oil, we take it out, and we go to that same location. We go and buy from them. What is wrong in having this distillate here in this country?
Well, I remember that President Tinubu has assured labor unions that the Port Harcourt refinery will commence operation December of this year.
These are the lies we've been hearing. We've been hearing all these things for more than 20 years. Tinubu is not the only one that is saying it. We've had it for past governments. They've been saying the same thing. They've been all kinds of allocation and budgetary expenses that have been pumped into the maintenance of refineries. Tell me what has happened to the funds. What happened to the last money that was pumped into it? These refineries we have been talking about, I have been to about 2 of them. To be honest with you, these refineries are not going to work.
Why?
These things are all junk stories. They're just telling us stories.
Why are they not going to work?
They are not going to work because these refineries are obsolete.
There's no way
most of the flanges, most of the valves, most of them they are all obsolete. These things are just using paint. I don't want to. Is a shame.
Well, let's try and be slightly optimistic. I know it's very hard within these times, but things that are obsolete can be updated. There is a range of technology available, and we do know that the Dangote refinery, which is in the works, is obviously using some up-to-date. So maybe they can put heads together and share some of that technology. But that aside, I want to talk about the petrol price. The president's special advisor on media said that we can maintain the current price without reversing our deregulation policy. He says we can do that by swiftly cleaning up the inefficiencies, the irregularities within the mid and downstream sector. What particularly are those inefficiencies?
How does he intend to maintain the price?
By cleaning up inefficiencies.
Yes. How do you clean up those inefficiencies? And what are the existing inefficiencies for those who aren't well versed in the world of oil, gas, and petroleum? What are the inefficiencies?
There are a lot of inefficiencies in the oil and gas industry. There are so many manipulations going on. Now, I had him saying that they are going to strike a balance and keep the fuel price. That is not true. You can't do that.
Why not?
That means you are paying subsidy. If you are going to keep the price, you are paying subsidy, because if the international price the prices go up, how do you expect me as an importer to bring it at your price? How do you expect me to bring it at the price? These people are not telling us the truth. They are just putting Nigerians under undue, unnecessary suffering. We are just suffering for nothing. The average youth, I was coming to the island today. There are no cars on the road. Because the purchasing power is now down. People cannot buy fuel. The youths are, now, apart from even the mobility, what of those who are running gen? What of those who are using generators? Now, I want to even ask. They said they removed subsidy in diesel. They removed subsidy in aviation fuel. And subsidy was also removed in DPK. Please, can you tell me just one benefit we got from them? This is close to 15 years. What was the benefit that we can say we derived from the removal of subsidy from diesel? Except the fact that we saw that most of the industries collapsed. So what is the benefit? Now you are now removing subsidy in the only distillate that Nigerians can have direct interface with. You're not saying you want to keep the price. How do you intend to keep the price and manage inefficiencies? How do you want to do that?
Well, I was thinking that maybe cleaning up existing inefficiencies could include, the faceless, nameless cabal, that have been benefiting from the fuel subsidy regime that we've been hearing about.
How do they want to do it?
Why can't they do it?
No, the problem is, how do they want to do it? The core point in this thing is we're not even talking about the root. We are talking about how to deal with the branches. We're talking about the problem of the root. The problem of the root is the refineries are not working. This country is on a keg of gunpowder.
But I remember you said that it seems that we have saboteurs. That's why you alluded to that. That's why the refineries are not working. So if they deal with these saboteurs, then we can now face, bringing the refineries back into life.
This is, I don't know. We're just going around the cycle. That's what we are doing. Just trying to go around the cycle. I want to ask you this question. I want to throw the same question to you. In the past regimes, was there a time where they said they are going to also deal with the saboteurs in the oil and gas sector?
No, they haven't.
And they never did. I won't be tired of all these stories and all these lies and all these manipulations. The thing it doesn't mean that the Nigerians, we are so docile. I don't feel tired of all this. The same stories we've had years upon years, from one regime to another, one dispensation to another. We've had the same thing. The dynamics of bringing fuel and selling down to the filling station is not rocket science. There is no grammar to it. It is people who are making these things complex. There's nothing to it. The reason why we are talking all these stories is because we are just trying to cover up the truth, where the truth is hidden. We don't want to expose it. We don't want to say it. We are just leaving it open. Now, I want to even ask, how long will it take to maintain a refinery? This refinery was said to be functional in July. Now they've moved it now to December. Now we're going to be here to watch till December and see how it's going to happen. What is going to happen?
There definitely seems to be quite a bit of kicking the can down the road within our administration.
They keep changing the goalpost.
But once again, trying to put a bit of a positive spin to an extremely terrible situation. Within Africa, we are known to have some of the cheapest petrol in Nigeria. But that aside, you were talking...
That we have is cheapest petrol.
Some of the cheapest. It's not the cheapest, but we do have...
No, I want to ask you, which country are you going to compare Nigeria with? Are you comparing Nigeria with Ghana? Are Are you going to compare with Nigeria with Cote d'Ivoire? Are you going to compare with Nigeria with Togo? Which one are you going to compare?
We could never do that. They could never.
Yeah, because they are saying that Nigeria has it, but I want to understand what they mean by that.
But my actual question was to piggyback on you talking about the vicious cycle that we tend to have in this country and the effects that it might have. Boomerang policies that backfire in the face of those who initiated it. I wanted to take us back to earlier this year when the monetary change policy was implemented. It was supposed to be for good. We saw the strains that Nigerians were put through, and it was swiftly reversed. Well, not too swiftly, but it was reversed nonetheless. Same with this situation. Fuel subsidies have been removed. We see the adverse effect. Will this be another situation where they reverse on that? And what could be the after effects of that? Not only for our economy, but also for the PR for the government. It's like a parent who puts down the law and then later decides that you can do whatever you want. The child ends up maybe not respecting them so much or even behaving well. In this situation, what could be the after effects of flip-flopping legislation at a time when people are hungry, they're frustrated, they don't have money, they can't go anywhere? What could be the adverse effects for that?
We are heading to economic collapse. That's what we're heading to. I'm telling you with all honesty. I had an opportunity to talk to 2 investors and when they went to the country. They said they're not coming. And they gave me clear-cut reason why they won't come here. We're heading to economic collapse. If policies are not well thought out and brought to the front burner, and you go back, it is after you have said what you want to say, you now go back and start thinking about it. That means you are heading to collapse. That is why I said the leaders we have over the years are morally sick. Now they tend to now push the thing to the youths, or when the youths begin to react, they now push it to them. This is wrong. The average Nigerian youth is the most industrious I've ever seen. I've interfaced with youths across Africa. The Nigerian youth is the most industrious. It's the most dynamic.
Is this why you think maybe they think that implementing policies that might be quite dire will be okay because we're adaptable, we're resourceful, and we've maybe been through worse?
Which policy?
Fuel subsidy removal.
These policies, I'm ashamed of this country. It's a disgrace.
We still have to...
I'm telling you, this country of 200 million people, with over 100 to 200 polytechnics and universities with so many professors and engineers. Yet we cannot refine just a drop.
Okay, so we've diagnosed, the problem. Saboteurs, probably our leaders, they are also not been sincere with us. A lot of inefficiencies in the system. So what is the solution? As an oil and gas expert, if you were given an opportunity to address the government, and if the government indeed is listening, what would you tell them to do? What's the way out?
The first thing I would advise the Nigerian government is to, first of all, go to other OPEC countries and find out how they run their oil and gas economy. How they run that oil and gas sector. How do they run it and why are they getting results and we are not getting results? Why are they having progress? Why are they making progress and we are not making progress? That's the first thing we need to ask. We need to find out what is wrong. What is the wrong with the Nigerian oil and gas? And how do we? The first thing is go to where it is working, where they are doing it right, and find out what they are doing there and bring in here. And we are here still talking the same thing. The number one thing I will even say is that please let them fix the refineries. This thing is very straightforward.
Yes.
Let them fix the refineries. If just one refinery is working today, it will need to bring to bring some kind of succor to the distribution of these distillates to Nigerians.
Well,
then secondly, we should also look at who are these people in these sectors that are playing this ball. and making sure this thing doesn't work well and fish them out. This is very straightforward. If in my family today, in my house, and I find out that the tap is not working well, I'll go straight to the plumbing system and find out what is wrong. I don't need to start telling everybody in my house, the plumbing is not working. We are going to come up with a policy. Which policy? Go straight to what the problem is and deal with that problem once and for all. Everybody is fine.
Wow. Okay, so marketers, they've been having a tough time. They're pushing to increase the liter cost of petrol at the pump from 617 naira to 720. The president has said there will be no increase on the pump price of petrol. What, in your opinion, is the actual medium of that?
The oil marketers and the oil marketers and the importers are being realistic. I don't blame them. They're being realistic, but that is what is going on in the. Now, even today, as of today, the price of diesel in the international market is selling within $500 to $550 per metric ton. But it was selling at $480 as at a few weeks ago. So the price inflation, I don't blame them. If I'm going to bring in product at that price, you're not telling me to sell at a lower price, then you have to find a differential for me. And apart from the differential, you're also going to pay me for the profit, because I need to make profit from the product. So I don't blame them. The problem, the people I am blaming is the government. Why will you go and remove subsidy? Why will you do that without finding a landing pad for the citizens? Why will you remove subsidy? That's the question I'm asking. Why will you remove subsidy?
Well, that's a big question. A lot of analysts believe the subsidy removal policy was not well thought out and that the government is actually unclear on how to handle the fallout. They really don't know what to do. So how, if you could offer an advice, I keep saying, if you could offer, and if they were actually listening, how would you advise the government to cushion the impact, of the removal of fuel subsidies, since the government is insisting that subsidy has been removed and the policy is here to stay?
It's just like a faulty building. Now you're telling me, let's just add one pillar. The building is already faulty. Want to add a pillar? The building will still collapse. It will still collapse because the foundation of that building is faulty. Now you're saying, okay, let's plaster the crack in the wall so that it doesn't fall. Just give it a period of time. It will still collapse. That is what we are doing. That is why we are having policies somersaults, talking here. This person is saying this, another person is saying that. Everybody is confused. Even the marketers are confused. Everybody is confused because there's no balance now. And what I'm even trying to tell the government is that you can't just be giving people instruction in their own money. You can't do that. Except you are paying them behind the scene. If you're not paying me behind the scene to subsidize my product, you don't have the right to give me instruction. So I will sell at the price that I buy. And I also need to make profit. Because it's a business. It's not a charity organization. I'm not doing any charity for anybody. I'm not going to sell my product because Nigerians are suffering. Let me sell it for them cheap. That's not what I'm going to do. Because the way I get the funds to bring in the product, I need to pay back. So that's just it.
Well, Chuks, Emeka, it has been quite an interesting conversation with you. Thank you for joining us. And we really do hope that the government was listening and get to work on those refineries that you are quite passionate about. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.